Susan B. Anthony was born on February 15, 1820, and was raised in a Quaker household. She was also a teacher before becoming a leading figure in the abolitionist and women's voting rights movement. She partnered with Elizabeth Cady Stanton and would eventually lead the National American Women's Suffrage Association. A dedicated writer and lecturer, Anthony died on March 13, 1906. Early on, Anthony had developed a strong moral compass and spent much of her life working on social causes. Anthony was the second oldest of 8 children to a local cotton mill owner and his wife, but only 6 children lived to be adults. The family moved to Battenville, New York in 1826, and around this time, Anthony was sent to study at a Quaker school near Philadelphia. After her father's business failed in the late 1830s, Anthony returned home to help her family make ends meet and found work as a teacher. The Anthonys moved to a farm in the Rochester, New York area in the mid-1840s. There they became involved in the fight to end slavery, also known as the abolitionist movement. The Anthony's farm served as a meeting place for such famed abolitionists as Frederick Douglass. Around this time, Anthony became the head of the girls' department at Connerjery Academy, which is a post that she held for 2 years. Leaving the Connerjery Academy in 1849, Anthony soon devoted more of her time to social issues. In 1851, she attended an anti-slavery conference where she met Elizabeth Cady Stanton. She was also involved in the temperance movement aimed at limiting or completely stopping the production and sale of alcohol. Anthony was denied a chance to speak at a temperance convention because she was a woman, and later realized that no one would take women in politics seriously unless they had the right to vote. Anthony and Stanton eventually established the Women's New York State Temperance Society in 1852. Before long, the pair were also fighting for women's rights. They formed the New York State Women's Rights Committee. Anthony also started a petition for women to have the right to own property and to vote. She traveled extensively campaigning on the behalf of women. In 1856, Anthony began working as an agent for the American Anti-Slavery Society. She spent years promoting the society's causes up until the Civil War. After the Civil War, Anthony began focusing more on women's rights. She helped establish the American Equal Rights Association in 1866, with Stanton calling for the same rights to be granted to all, regardless of race or sex. Anthony and Stanton had produced The Revolution, a weekly publication that lobbied for women's rights in 1868. The newspaper's motto was "Men, their rights, and nothing more. Women, their rights, and nothing less." In 1869, Anthony and Stanton founded the National Women's Suffrage Association. Anthony was tireless in her efforts, giving speeches around the country to convince others to support a woman's right to vote. She even took matters into her own hands in 1872 when she voted illegally in the presidential election. Anthony was arrested for the crime, and she unsuccessfully fought the charges. She was fined $100, which she never paid. In her later years, Anthony never gave up on her fight for women's suffrage. In 1905, she met with President Theodore Roosevelt in Washington, D.C. to lobby for an amendment to give women the right to vote. Anthony died the following year on March 13, 1906, at the age of 86, at her home in Rochester, New York. It wouldn't be until 14 years after Anthony's death in 1920 that the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution giving all women the right to vote was passed. In recognition of her dedication and hard work, the U.S. Treasury Department put Anthony's portrait on dollar coins in 1979, making her the first woman to be so honored.